ask for a moment to recess early in the meeting here for about a couple of minutes, and if you would. Commissioner Fink, what did I say? Present. Oh, if we call the roll while we're at it here. Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead.
Sure, we'll call the roll and then we'll recess.
Okay. Commissioner Fink.
He said
He's here. Commissioner O'Neill.
Present.
Commissioner Crone.
here.
Commissioner Sweeney. Commissioner Nelson.
Here.
Commissioner Rocker. And Chair Commissioner Forsman.
Here. I started to say without the mic on there that Commissioner Fink has asked for a recess just for a few minutes, and we'll wait so we will recess, as unusual as this would be, for a couple of minutes till Commissioner Fink gets done with a little conference here. So, with that. Our cameras were not working last week. I think that the message last week was that important that it should be repeated with our cameras. Oh, and Ellen is telling me to press. Oh, we'll catch on here. It'll take a while. Another 13 years and I should have her made here. With that, last week we had taken some time out to honor our County Veteran Service Office as an award was given, and our cameras were not working last week, and I think it's important enough that I repeat that this week, and I've asked our Veteran Service Director, Rich Dominguez, to come, and after I'm done with reading repeating what I repeated last week, I would ask you, Rich, if you would come up and say a few words on this. So with that, I'd like to take a moment to say a few words about our St. Louis County's Veteran Service Office and our St. Louis County veterans. As a county, we are recognizing our troops by our moment of silence prior to our board meetings. We also honor these veterans through the work of the dedicated men and women of our Veteran Service Office, who serve over 15,000 veterans of the United States Armed Forces each year. As a proud Marine Corps vet, it gives me special pride to announce that the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs has awarded $75,164 to the St. Louis County Veteran Service Office. This county's Veteran Service Office Enhancement Grant is the largest grant awarded across the state of Minnesota. This generous grant will allow us to assist many more veterans in our area to apply for medical, financial, transportation, and other important services. This grant will be also used to advertise the St. Louis County Veteran Service Office and the LinkVet. LinkVet is a toll-free customer service line for the Minnesota veterans and family members, with trained staff at the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs providing information, referrals, crisis intervention, and counseling 24/7, 365 days a year. Services like these to our family members, friends, and neighbors who are veterans are their due and a small part of the debt of gratitude that we owe our nation's vet. And at this time, I'd like to recognize the great job our Veterans Service Officer Director, Rich Dominguez, and the members of his staff from around the world are providing to our veterans and returning troops. And I'd ask Rich if he would come up and say a few words there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to really thank the board and Gary Eckenberg and Wilson Spence for submitting the grant back in last October. If it wasn't for the stepping stones that you guys took, we would never have gotten this grant. And there are a few counties that didn't apply for the grant. I don't understand why. But what you guys did back in October, you laid the foundation for me to apply again this year, okay? And I will vow to always apply for a grant to get money from the state. And I will always work directly with the state of Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs to help our veterans in St. Louis County. They're a great resource, and as we can see, they do have valuable funding to help us out, to help veterans without dipping into county funds if we don't need to, okay? With that, with this grant of $75,000, what we plan to do is we are going to hire a veteran service officer to help outreach. The person is going to definitely work with the homeless, the needy. They're going to reach out to various shelters and make sure that every veteran that is there, that comes through there, is seen appropriately and applies for the benefits that are out there through the VA and through the state of Minnesota. Along with that, we're definitely going to advertise to make sure, because my goal as the County Veteran Service Officer, Director of this division, is to make sure that every veteran in St. Louis County is informed and educated on their VA benefits, either be it the federal side or the state side or what's locally here for them. Also, so with that, I'm going to hold 2 town hall meetings. We're going to start out with just 2 for now. The first one's going to be May 8th, and that's going to be up in Gilbert at the VFW up there. And then the second one is going to be in the American Legion Post 71 out in West Duluth. That's going to be May 9th. It's going to be back-to-back, and the reason why I want them back-to-back is so that way, when the federal people come up, they're only paying for one way coming up, hotel bill, and then back down to the cities. It's more convenient for them, and it's more convenient, and then plus they'll approve it, their travel to come up and visit with every vet. And what I'm going to do is, during these town hall meetings, what I'd like is invite, of course, all of you, anybody within the county that works in the county, and then each speaker is going to get 5 minutes, approximately 5 minutes, to say what their agency is all about. And what I want to do is focus more on the veteran during those meetings, to open the floor to each veteran to ask questions to those people, the panel that I'm going to have up there. And then also what we're doing is, inside the county, we are offering training for our employees, the supervisors, give them more of an understanding, because we have a lot of people within the county that are deployed right now, been activated, and they're over in Iraq, Afghanistan, all over the world. And these people are coming back with memories, okay? And we want to make sure that all the supervisors, managers, department heads within the county understand what that individual went through and what they're coming back and what they're going through now. And also, there's another training class for inside the county for the families of these veterans. It's to let them know that prior to, during their employment, and after their employment, what's available to them to help them out. Because this is a very unique situation. Minnesota has never really experienced the separation like it has now. Okay, I mean, last year we just had 3,400 veterans come back from Iraq, and then it's going to continue to go on. I mean, like I tell people, yeah, the people leaving, they still have their families left behind, still have families here, but they don't understand what's all involved with the military, and then how to help with the kids. I mean, it's a big responsibility when you're left behind here in Minnesota to take care of your family, your houses, and stuff like that. So we're going to hold another class just for that. And with that, I have nothing else further to say, but if you have any questions of me.
Thank you, Chair Commissioner Forsman. I just wanted to point out something that I know the 3 veterans on our board wouldn't, but because most veterans are that way, but we do have 3 veterans on this board that continue to serve their community. Commissioner Forsman from the Marine Corps, Commissioner Crone, and Commissioner Fink, Navy veterans. So just wanted to make that point, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Rich, the $75,000, that's a 2-year grant, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard any rumblings of the Veterans Administration losing some of their money during the course of this budget shortfall that the governor is looking to amend right now?
Not at this time. No, I haven't heard anything about that at all. Okay. What's been awarded is going to stay awarded, and I know Commissioner Dyrud down there is going to still go after more money from the governor to help our veterans in the state of Minnesota. Oh, I was just holding. I forgot to mention one thing, and also what I'm doing. Thanks, Gary. Every second Wednesday of the month, I am on the Straight Talk with Brad Bennett. I get on there, I pick a subject. Whatever happens in the month, that most happens, whatever veterans come see me about the most, that's my subject for that next month, is to make sure that every veteran knows of their disabilities, what's possible out there. Like, so my first show, I talked about Agent Orange, exposure to Agent Orange. From that show, that day, I got 5 contacts. Hibbing office got called twice during the show from Vietnam veterans that had no clue, they were not aware of this presumptive conditions. So, and I definitely believe that this will help out the county, you know, getting the word out to every veteran in the county, so.
Thank you, Rich, and I appreciate the work that you and your veteran service officers do. I mean, it's tremendous work, and I do. I guess I just got done with my wife watching a documentary, an hour documentary about Marine sniper Matt Orth. I don't know, Sergeant Orth spent 2 tours over in Iraq, and my wife and I, after watching that, we watched. I had tears in my eyes watching what these people come from. You know, a battleground, a terrific battleground, and certainly the call sign for a Marine sniper is a Grim Reaper. I mean, and these people come back to the world, and there's a tremendous adjustment. There's people like you and people like your veterans service officers and the other people that are out there that give this support for these people and their family, that make it possible that they can become adjusted back to the real world. I mean, and I shouldn't say the real world, because as Sergeant Orth said, he says, I'm going to be glad to go, something to this effect, that I'm going to be glad to go back to the world where I can put my blinders back on there. And
Right.
so it's very important, the work, and I don't think that most people understand that. I really
Right,
don't.
and that's another reason why I'm working with the State of Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs with the VetLink. It's a very good tool it's an easy 1-800 number to remember, 1-888-VETLINK, for veterans who are having troubles with mental ideals, if they want to take their life. You know, we're trying to get the word out to make sure that they know that this is out there. This is available for them too, because previous suicides that I've seen, they didn't know this was available. You know, they just try to deal with the problem, and let's face it, we're not all experts in the mental health field, so if we can get the word out to make sure that they can at least make one contact to these people to help them out, we could save many lives. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich, and I appreciate the work you do. And this board, I'm speaking for the board and everybody in St. Louis County.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, citizens will be allowed to address the board on items not on an agenda, and for items on the agenda, citizens will be allowed to address the board at the time a motion is on the floor. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the board about an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. We got the consent agenda ahead of us. It has been moved and supported. Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have reports, boards, and committee, and we have Finance and Budget Committee. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Forsman. I have 2 items before the board today. The first is a lawful gambling license application for the Confidence Learning Center, and I would move the motion before us.
It has been moved and supported. Discussion. All in favor of said motion signify by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Notice 1 nay. Commissioner Fink. Go ahead.
Chair, Commissioner Forsman, the second item that I have before us today is a request to the Department of Revenue to delay their actions to allow for a legislative review. And as you recall, we had a very lengthy discussion on this. This is on the recreational lease program for St. Louis County and also the federal lease program, and I would move it.
It has been moved. It's supported. Discussion. Commissioner Fink. Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. If we could have our administrator frame the issue.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, is on the agenda again just to update you. The action of the board has in fact had some effect. The Department of Revenue sent out a survey to all the county assessors this past week asking them how they are currently taxing these properties. Mel Hintz, our assessor, is here. He has answered this, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention that this has happened, so at least they're aware that it's being questioned, and they're doing something to try to determine what the status is around the state. And if you'd like, Mel might have a further update or better information on it than that, but thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Mitchell. Mel, did you wish to get? You're certainly welcome to. We want to get as many words out of you as you can before we retire at the end of the month there. So,
Mr. Chairman, I did respond to that questionnaire. It was sent statewide. Basically, it asks how we're assessing the various different types of leases, federal, state, county, and city. And I responded that I think, as you well know, we have not been putting an assessment on the land. We've just been putting an assessment on the buildings. Some of our neighboring counties have been doing likewise. So it'll be interesting to see where that input goes once the state receives it. Just a couple other updates since last week. Yesterday I met with 3 of the board of directors for the Birch Lake Homeowners Group. That's a federal leased area on Birch Lake. There's 41 leases. They're a little different situation in that the Forest Service is reappraising the land on those leases this year to reset their lease fees for next year. So they were particularly concerned because they're looking at some substantial increase in their lease fees, as well as us complying with the directive from the state to add land to the assessment. So that was really the central point of our discussion yesterday. This evening I'll be meeting with the County Hunting Lease Association in Cotton. Tomorrow night I'll be meeting with the Stunts Bay Boathouse Association up in Sudan. If I survive those 2 meetings, next week I'll be meeting with the township officers. And in each one of those meetings I'll be talking about this recreational lease assessment issue. Our staff is continuing to put values on these as directed by the state. Our local Board of Appeal meetings begin the first week of April. I don't think we have any in the first week of April that have any leased properties, but once we get into the second week and from there forward, there will be leased properties. And so I would expect that this issue will be also under discussion at the local Board of Appeal meetings.
thank you, Mel, for that input. You didn't want to stay till this project is all done there and stuff instead of leaving at the end of the month there?
Well, I think it'll depend upon what the legislature does. I mean, the fact that we're putting values on these doesn't mean that we can't change.
Yes.
And certainly we've got time to do that. I wouldn't begin to guess what the legislature is going to do on this issue, but if they, whatever change they make, we can make that change in emphasis so that's done timely, and so that if it's a change that benefits the lessees, certainly we can get that done so that they're not affected in a negative way for taxes payable 2009.
Thank you for the work, and thanks for attending these meetings. I have Commissioner Fink first, and then Commissioner
Don't go away, Mel.
Nelson.
Mel, don't go away. I know you're anxious to get out of here, but just I read that we have 1,300 leases of these leases of both state, federal, and county leases. The question is, how many are there across the state? I thought I saw a number around 2,600.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Fink, I don't know the number across the state. I know the numbers of our neighboring counties. For example, Kuching County has 400 plus or minus a few. All of those are hunting leases. Carlton County has 70, and again, they're primarily hunting leases. Itasca County has around 260, and they're a mixture of county hunting leases. They did have some county lakeshore leases years ago, but they got out of the business of that. So they've got a mixture of county hunting leases and federal lakeshore leases, much like we've got. We've got 80 federal lakeshore leases. The Birch Lake Group was just one part of that. Actually, that's about half of the federal leases. The other half are split between the East Bay of Crane Lake and One Pine Lake, both of them in the northern part of the county. Lake County has, again, got around 250. Most of those are county leases, although they also have some federal leases.
Okay, thank you very much. I did want to note one particular thing that we haven't talked about very much. In each case, we talk about the federal and the county leases because they're impacted by this law, or by this interpretation. What is interesting is that state leases are not. And that really does create some kind of a division between what should and what shouldn't be. So it's really kind of noteworthy that the state, if you had a state lease, you would not be impacted at all by this calculation.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Fink, that's true except for that only applies if your lease is issued under authority of Minnesota Statute 9246. There are state leases that are issued that are not under that authority, and the largest group of those that I'm aware of in this county are the Stunts Bay boathouses. There's 155 of those, and they're not under that authority, and so therefore they're subject to the same directive that other leases are, in that we're directed to value those sites as though they own them in fee.
Although I've been into Stunts Bay, and I'm not so sure that if there were some encouragement to adjust how the visual impact of those leases, it might be really worthwhile.
That's not the assessor's issue here.
Of course it's not.
Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner Forsman. And to Commissioner Fink's comment, the Stunts Bay site is a historical site, and beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. With that said, I need to make one comment on this. As I was down at the state legislature testifying on behalf of St. Louis County taxpayers on the Lake Vermilion Park issue, at least 3 legislators from this area, I believe, are showing tremendous leadership in getting this addressed at the legislative level, and that would be Senator Bach, Representative Dills, and Representative Rukavina, all 3 of whom were active in that meeting and requesting from the department language that would take care of this glitch, this 50-year-old glitch, and it was a rather interesting meeting to be witness to, but certainly the leadership that they are showing down there should have this taken care of, hopefully before the end of this legislative session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. I just have to say to Commissioner Fink, since the stunt boathouses are in my district, and I will tell you that my wife's uncle had a boathouse there, which he sold, and her fondest memories of growing up was riding in Uncle Leslie's boat and the boathouses down there. So as Commissioner Nelson says, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because my wife still thinks that they're beautiful. So, with that, oh, excuse me,
Mr. Chair, I be holding the opposite opinion.
Okay. Probably not part of the debate here, but while it's on my mind. And we do have Kevin behind you. Mel, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kevin.
Chair, Commissioner Forsman, Commissioners, my name is Kevin Square Brown. I'm from Duluth. I listened with interest as you received testimony from citizens and the county assessor last week regarding the State Director of Revenue's directive increasing the tax rate on leased recreational lands. From that discussion, a couple things emerged. One, that the state's plan, taxing as if the land was privately owned, overvalues the worth of these assets, as it fails to consider the limitations inherent in the lease restrictions. And second, the current system, property tax on the buildings with some consideration for location, combined with lease payments that incorporates some consideration for the value of the land, fails to recognize the full value of having near exclusive use of this property. Currently, the lease fees are apparently tied to the CPI, a rate set back in the 1980s, based off a rate set back in the 1980s. And then this rate fails to reflect the accelerated value of lakefront property. Assuming the State Director of Revenue does indeed reverse or amend his or her current position, perhaps it would be appropriate for the marketplace to determine the value of these leases and for the lease fees to reflect that full market value. I encourage this board to take that into consideration as now this issue is before us. In a county in which revenue is dear and scarce, it seems appropriate that these land users pay their fair share as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that input, Kevin. Any other comments? All in favor of said motion signify by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next item we have is Central Management and Intergovernmental Committee. Commissioner Fink.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. As you note from my agenda, I have one or two items for which one resolution is in front of you. It is the resolution for item number 3. It was handed out in a single piece of paper today. The resolution states that the County Board hereby closes the meeting of March 18th, 2004 to discuss with the attorney the specific settlement agreement, which would then come next if in fact the closure would bear some fruit. And Mr. Chair, having seen the potential resolution, it is my opinion after discussions with the county attorney and the administrator that we should go to closed session, although that's not a unanimous discussion. So I would move that we go to closed session immediately.
It has been moved that we go to closed session immediately and supported. Discussion? Attorney Ford.
I'm not quite sure why the board has not been presented with the resolution in this matter. The purposes of a closed session, we need to, in my opinion, the law is clear that closed sessions need to be used very judiciously and in furtherance of private and candid discussions of litigation, among other things. Labor negotiations is another exception to the open meeting rule. In this case, I believe that an explanation of the resolution could provide adequate information for the county board to make a decision on whether to approve the settlement offer that's being proposed. The only matter that should be discussed at a closed meeting would be the ramifications of not accepting the resolution, but or the proposed settlement agreement. So in my opinion, I think first you need to know what the proposed settlement agreement is, and then decide whether or not you need further candid discussions that would benefit the public to have behind closed doors.
Attorney Ford, my question would be, is there the possibility that the board might not be in agreement with the proposed settlement? And I mean, I asked that question, is there the possibility, because I haven't seen it yet, so is there that possibility?
Well, and that's why I'm a little perplexed. I don't know why you haven't seen it, because I did send down a resolution last week. I don't know whether the board would be in agreement or not. I have not spoken with the board on this. I've only spoken with Administrator Mitchell, who indicated that there may be some.
With that, since I haven't seen it, and and the possibility that there may be discussion and that there may not be agreement on the board, I think that any time that you're in a litigation, I think that the rule has always been in the 20-some years that I've served as an elected official, that where there may not be agreement, that you should at least go to the closed session to discuss, find out if there's an agreement, and at that point, because it is litigation and that we should go forward with it. I absolutely realize that any settlement is going to be public information, but from my standpoint, I believe that if we're going to be in negotiations and litigation and there may not be agreement on the board, we should do that in closed session first. So with that, I would believe that's the proper way to go. And I guess I would turn to, I think I saw Commissioner Nelson's hand. And
thank you, Chair. Commissioner Forsman. I have had an opportunity to discuss some of the issues surrounding this proposed settlement, and I do have specific questions that I believe would be best addressed in closed session. So I think we should take that vote and get back to closed session.
Administrator Mitchell.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just to explain, the resolution for this matter did come down late Tuesday afternoon. However, there were a number of changes that were needed to be made to it. We made those in administration, sent it back up to the county attorney's office. As the board is aware, the materials all go out on Thursday for today's board meeting in the packet. The resolution did not come back till Friday. Believing at that time we were going to have a closed session, I kept both the resolution that came back late Thursday afternoon, the resolution for the closed meeting that came down late Thursday afternoon, and the resolution for the issue that came down Friday together to hand out to the board in the closed session. But for clarification of this as well, I did talk to Commissioner Fink, who is the chair of Central Management, indicated to him the nature of the settlement, and he indicated that I should contact Bill Crone, who was the chair of the board last year, to determine questions about that particular information. I did contact Commissioner Crone, who said he was unaware of certain parts of the document. I went back to Commissioner Fink to indicate that to him, and with that information, he thought it was incumbent upon the board to discuss these issues in a closed session. So the reason that the resolution wasn't handed out is up until this moment, I thought we were going to have a closed session. It didn't come down in time to go with the packet, so I held it here until we went into the closed session. Like I said, this is the first I've heard of not having the closed session. So I just wanted the board to be aware and understand that, so you know why you don't have that document yet. It is here. Certainly can hand it out right now if the board wants it right now, or I can take it into the closed session, whatever the board prefers.
We have a motion in front of us there to have a closed session immediately in regarding to litigation, and with that, Commissioner Rocker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that it needs to be said that there is no doubt that this is a matter of litigation. That's been determined a long time ago, and it's been pending up to this point. And I think perhaps the chair should read the last three whereases of the resolution, which I think make the strongest argument for why it is the feeling is we should have a closed session with regard to the litigation involved here, and the fact that it is an unsettled litigation.
I will do that at that request. In fact, I'll read the whole a preface. This is so that I think it has been said at previous meetings that this is an issue where there has been I'll read it, and it's all in there. Whereas a St. Louis County employee filed a discrimination charge with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, and whereas pursuant to the authority of the St. Louis County Board of Commissioners and pursuant to the authority of the St. Louis County Board of Commissioners, the St. Louis County Attorney entered into conciliation efforts with the charging party and the EEOC, and whereas the parties reached an agreement which will avoid litigation of this matter, and whereas the St. Louis County Attorney will provide legal advice to the County Board with respect to the evaluation of this settlement in this matter, and whereas the County Attorney requires a candid and open discussion with the County Board in order to render professional and adequate advice to the Board for its consideration of the acceptance of this agreement, and whereas public discussion of the implications of the settlement proposed in the presence of the public may benefit the opposing parties to the county's detriment, and whereas a closed session will benefit the public because potential financial liability in this matter could result in the expenditure of public funds, and whereas pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B, the County Board may close a meeting as permitted by the attorney-client privilege. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Louis County Board hereby closes the meeting of March 18th, 2008 to discuss with the County Attorney the specific settlement agreement. And resolve further that no other pending public business will be discussed at this closed session. And with that, we have the motion in front of us. Any other comments? Welcome, Commissioner Sweeney. All in favor of said motion signify by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will go directly into that and see what we have.
For 15 minutes to hold a closed session.
As the administrator said, this will be about 15 minutes for the closed session there.